Bizperation is the podcast for leaders, dreamers, and entrepreneurs that want to work on purpose and be inspired in life and business. I'm Christy Jackson, speaker, author, and entrepreneur, and I'm passionate about helping you succeed. And if no one else has told you today, you are needed. So I'm bringing you podcast episodes with real lessons and strategy that you can use today. Welcome, Kourtney, to the Bizperation podcast. This is such a special conversation because, we have our annual coffee girl, catch-up conversations. So, Kourtney Thomas, thank you for joining me today.
Oh, well, thanks for inviting me. I'm really excited to do this.
Absolutely. Now, again, I know how amazing you are, but I'm going to give you a few minutes to talk to our listeners and let them know about you. And we're going to share some celebrations about you that are really exciting after your introduction.
Oh, goodness. All right. Well, I guess I can start with, I'm Kourtney Thomas. I am a fitness and mindset coach. And what that looks like for me is maybe a little bit different than what people are familiar with. I have found, and this is part of what I feel like we've talked about so much in our coffee catch-ups, that the way that looks for me is like several different buckets of the whole, like, what do you do thing. So I do in-person personal training when we're able to do that in home with clients. I've been doing that for about 10 years now. And then I also do online fitness coaching, basically writing training programs for folks and having like some online accountability. And I've been doing that for a really long time too. And then over the years, the mindset side of things kind of started coming in because as I was doing both of those things that were specifically fitness related, in working with all women, I kind of started to understand like there's a lot more to this. So also kind of discovered my talent for coaching and mindset work. And so I do that kind of as its own bucket as well, mindset and like life coaching, you could say. For women as well. I do that all online and like through Zoom meetings like this. And recently I have added in a group program as well, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah. And it basically combines those two things, kind of the mindset and the fitness piece very specifically, because that's the work that I'm super, super passionate about. So the way that I do things is like a whole bunch of different things, which a lot of that has always been online. And when we're not socially distanced, then I also do those things in person and workshops and talks and stuff like that too. So
and we have talked about this idea of having to focus on one thing, right? When you have so many gifts and so many passions. And I think that you have just done an amazing job of organically combining, the coaching and the mindset and the fitness piece, because they really, really do all work together.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I didn't see that for a really long time. I fought it a lot. And I think that a lot of that really had to do with, especially in the business world specifically, there is kind of that like, almost like rhetoric around, you have to be an expert, a specialist in one thing. And like, in order to be like, I don't know, a quote, good entrepreneur, or you know what I mean? It's always like this, you need to niche down and be really specific. And I think I felt a lot of pressure around that, while fighting the fact that actually like I'm good at a variety of things. I also enjoy doing kind of a little bit different manifestation of those things, combining them. And that keeps me engaged. And it also keeps me like more, it really allows me to help my clients better rather than like getting burned out on one thing. Yeah. So I fought it for a long time and then finally was like, you know what? Like, it doesn't have to be that way.
It's like, be you, I mean, I get it. And I almost want to kind of put a pin in that piece because it is so stressful, to have to find that one, although it is effective. But again, what I've learned is that everybody doesn't have multiple gifts and talents that they have the ability to focus on. And not that one is better than the other, but we all have a different purpose, right? And we all have a different set of talents. And so it is frustrating for those of us that can serve in a variety of areas, but it does cause us to find a way to, organically combine those, which that's kind of where that creative thinking and that flexible thinking comes into play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I love it that you are just leaning into your creativity, leaning into all of your gifts and finding a way to, serve people in all of those areas.
Yeah, thank you. I'm right there with you, like just +1 on all of that. I think that some people do better specializing in one thing and like really going down that. And then I really do think that that's not a fit for all people, like some people, they have multiple channels. That's why they have 3 different businesses that are totally unrelated or whatever, like not everybody has that capacity to kind of, like you said, spread their gifts and do that in different ways. But some people do. And I guess I just always was trying to fit myself into one box when I was actually not in that box. So
yes. And I mean, that's really what this conversation really is about getting outside of your boxes, right? Yeah. And I mean, just being you, being clear about, where you stand, what are your gifts, what are your talents, and, just unapologetically living those out.
Yeah. I'm all about it.
Right. And I believe that's why there are so many amazing accolades that are coming your way lately. From what a little birdie told me, you're being nominated.
The St. Louis Magazine. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
St. Louis Magazine. You've been recognized by St. Louis Magazine and nominated for being a fitness expert in our community.
Yeah. Yeah. They have the A-list awards every year. And it's a whole process of, getting nominated, and then they have like a top 5 and then a voting. And then obviously there's a winner, and they usually recognize, I think, a couple runners up or whatever. So it was nominated as one of the top 5 personal trainers. So,
yeah. And, people always say, it's just an honor to be nominated. And it really is, because
I agree.
The entire St. Louis area, right? You are recognized among the top 5. And, I know this isn't new to you. I did a little more research and I found that in those of you that are watching on YouTube, you can benefit from my theatrics. I'm sorry if you're listening via podcast, you can't see all this, but I saw that in 2014, you were recognized as Shape Magazine's hottest 50 trainer.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. I can't say that about all my girlfriends in my tribe, but I can say that about Miss Kourtney Thomas, huh? The hottest trainer. What was that like? What was that recognition like for you?
Oh, that was so wild. I remember and that was like an application process, where you filled out like a little form or whatever, and like kind of, told them about yourself and your accomplishments and whatever. And I always remember getting the email and being like, is this spam? Like, this can't be real. Yeah. So that was really cool. And that is definitely, being a national publication that like a lot of women read Shape Magazine,
Yeah.
That was pretty fun to have that published. And what was really, really actually cool for me, and now still pretty cool to look back on, is that it was 50 trainers, which is a lot. That's actually a pretty big group. But I mean, out of the whole US, that's still pretty, pretty big deal. Sure. But there were several women in that list who it like kind of span the gamut of like people that I really look up to as role models in the industry. And like I was in a group with them, which was really cool. And then a few more of them like became like colleagues and like people that I knew personally over the years. So that was like really cool to be like you said, kind of like in that community, in that tribe of women. So it was really fun.
That's awesome. I mean, it's so neat to be recognized for doing what you love, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're just following your passion and doing what you love. So I love that you are paying it forward by helping other women through your group coaching programs, to find their passions, to get healthier mentally, physically. So tell us about your upcoming workshop. And I'm not sure if there's an opportunity to still register for it. Mm-hmm. Are you okay? Great. So can you give us the details of your Fitness Unraveled?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will like give the official like pitch for it, which is that Fitness Unraveled is it's a group program. And kind of the line is that this is going to help you free yourself from shoulds and find your right way forever. It's a program that'll show you how to unload the fitness and health BS that you've been carrying your whole life and uncomplicate your body confidence right now. So what that really is all about is, as you said, like the mental, emotional, physical well-being, essentially like those things are all married together. Fitness doesn't exist in a vacuum. Our bodies don't exist in a vacuum. All of these things are very closely tied, and how we feel about our bodies and our fitness too, like actual exercise itself and all of that stuff, it affects so much in our lives, our relationships, our families, our work, our confidence everywhere in life. And again, like over the years in working with so many women, I really started to understand that relationship and also how to kind of break that down a little bit, which is why I ultimately settled on the name Fitness Unraveled, because it's really about like unraveling the notions of what you think you should be doing, how you think you should look, what size your body should be, what type of exercise you should be doing. Just all of this stuff, like even stuff like, oh, I should love my body unconditionally all the time. Like that's real tough, so it's conversations like that. So I get a lot of questions. It's like, well, is this like a workout program? And no, it's not. It's not that at all, actually. It's really, it's a coaching program. And I love doing it in the group because, like, yes, I'm good at this and I know that I'm a good guide, but the thing is, and the heart of my entire philosophy is that I'm not going to give you answers and I am not going to tell you what to do. That is actually the entire point. You've been told what to do your whole life, especially as it relates to how your body should look and what you should be doing for exercise or whatever. I want you to find those answers for yourself. And what's really cool about doing that in a group, like, so this group, it, like how I do it is, we use a private, like secret Facebook group. So there's group discussion every day, on like little prompts and topics. And then also at the same time, you're doing self-reflection worksheets, which basically is kind of like guided journaling. And then we can come together and discuss that. And what's really cool is that, like, again, I'm kind of guiding you through this like specific process, a lot of times of stuff that women have never even looked at, never even really saw was going on in their lives, stuff like that. But also what's so great is that, like, it's a group of women with oftentimes like really different life experiences, but so many shared things and like common ground to where they're like, oh my gosh, me too. Oh my gosh, I thought I was the only one. Like there's so much learning in that.
And just even, Kourtney, beyond the strategy that you're going to be teaching the women and, the opportunities to reflect, just that piece right there, like you're saying, learning from each other's shared experiences, connecting, with new women that you never would have met, beyond being a part of that group. It's empowering.
It is so empowering. And I've run a very similar group several times before. And that, like, the feedback is always like, oh my gosh, this changed my life. It was the best money I ever spent, all that kind of stuff. But like the relationships that happen, because I keep the group super small because it's really sensitive, like intimate stuff. Like you're sharing things that need to happen in a safe space with people that you trust. And like in just 3 months, which is a pretty short period of time, these are women who literally have built lifelong connections. And I mean, some of them it's 3-4 years later and they're like real good friends, because again of that shared experience thing and learning from each other and supporting each other. And that's a huge, huge part of what people get out of doing this work together in a group format.
Absolutely. And I think, now there is so much opportunity and time to really reflect on what matters most in your life. And so the timing for this is absolutely perfect. I mean, it really is, because a lot of the distractions are gone. A lot of the responsibilities that we would have that, would keep us from having that me time to, focus on your self-care. And even, when you're faced with, to the point of survival, it shifts your mindset to really, what matters the most. So I want to ask you, personally, what have been some of the most unexpected personal challenges that you have, encountered during this COVID quarantine?
Oh, for me, I think probably my top challenge is that I will very easily revert back to my I call them my only child tendencies.
Okay.
I'm an only child.
Mhm.
I loved being by myself, lived in the basement, watched TV, read books, whatever. And I can very, very easily do that.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a dangerous thing right now. And also add on top of that social media and just kind of exacerbating that isolation feeling. So that has probably been my biggest challenge, because I can do that real easily. And then I can get up in my head a lot. And, just as it relates to business and to friendships and all that stuff, you start to overanalyze a lot in your own head.
You're kind of overthinking a lot of things.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
my challenge has really been, and I set myself, I actually made a download, but I made myself this little calendar, which as you talked about, I'm really big also on really understanding what matters to you, which I mean is actually a huge part of this group program and everything too, because it relates to all these things. But anyway, I made this little accountability calendar thing that is literally based on which values do you want to represent this month, each week, each day, kind of a thing. And one of them for me is connection. And so I make sure that I schedule at least one meeting per week. And that is way less than I was doing.
Yeah.
But I went 2 weeks without talking to anybody, and that was a real problem. So I had to put it on my little accountability calendar, make sure that you have a face-to-face Zoom with somebody at least once a week. And that helped.
Well, I'm glad that we were on the calendar for this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love how you are being intentional about connecting with people. You have to do what works for you, right?
Yep.
Because we assume that, these extrovert tendencies, making it a priority to connect with people. I was just talking with my daughter yesterday. She was just talking about there are certain friends that are are really they're quick to call her on the phone and check on her, and she's trying to get better at doing that. And it's not that she doesn't love, and I'm like that too. It's not that I don't love and care about my friends, but I'm more of that person. I want to show up for you and be in the room with you and talk to you and kind of feel that energy. And I've never really been a phone person, where I just kind of talk for hours and hours on the telephone. And so I have to be intentional about, texting my friends or calling my friends and, checking in on them, because, like you said, it's easy to get back to those old habits. And every time that I have reached out and connected with someone, they're saying man, I'm glad you called today. This was on my mind. And so it really does matter. We really do need to stay connected with each other, especially now.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I've always been a really big proponent of internet communication and all of that stuff. I mean, again, I've been doing that for a really long time before it was cool and before we were forced to do it.
Yeah.
I think that it can be nearly as helpful, valuable, all of that as in person. I'm a hugger. I miss hugging people, but even just that quick, like you said, quick phone call, quick text, quick, let's have our Zoom coffee in the morning or whatever, that can really change your day. So, I think it counts, even if you just text somebody. I know that I've gotten some, like you said, just some quick, hey, how are you doing today? Thinking about you. And I'm oh, somebody's thinking about me. So.
And I didn't think that before. I'm going to be honest. I really didn't feel that. I didn't feel like the text had as much value as actually hearing someone's voice or, that kind of thing. But you're absolutely right. It all matters. Because it's all communication, and we are really seeing that more than, now more than ever. So any shifts in your business that you've been able to respond to, and maybe that have been a benefit because of the, social distancing?
Yeah. So for me, it's actually been kind of interesting because I have really not seen any change or disruption at all, because like I said, I was in my industry, surprisingly, like, sometimes it seems like there are a lot of people doing online fitness, and like you can go on Instagram and see like a billion, like influencers or this or that or free workouts or whatever.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, like a lot of the more like experienced credentialed trainers and coaches out there were really doing a lot more in-person work and not as much online.
Yeah.
I had started doing the online like 8 years ago. So I was already set up. I did not have to shift anything in my business. I did not have to, I mean, like essentially I had a couple of in-person clients and we're not able to do sessions anymore.
Yeah.
But everything else was online already. So I made no changes, saw no disruption with all of my online clients. All my coaching has always been online. The group will always be online. So for me, actually, I haven't seen too much change. What I did do was kind of amplify those things that I was already doing, offer some additional opportunities for people to engage with me, kind of explore what online fitness might look like, like sending out some workouts, different things like that. Like I said, kind of the accountability thing, having some of those conversations a little bit more. But as far as like my core services went, I have not really had to do any like pivoting or any of that stuff. It was all already set up, which is nice.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a saying that I like to share. It's, trust your pace and your process. And now I'm going to add and your pivots.
Yeah.
Because, I think back to us a year or so, ago in business, we own that event space. And I mean, we would not have been able to stay in business with an event venue space. It would have been impossible. And now that we pivoted to, the digital branding piece and, strategy, all of our clients mainly are online. The services that we're offering are digital. And man, God foresaw that shift coming for us. And so, as women of faith, we know where our source is, right? So I just want to, talk a little bit about that. Like, how has your faith played a part in like navigating your business growth?
I would say in the last year, it has been a pivotal part of me really kind of getting a lot more comfortable with where I was, all the stuff that we talked about in the beginning about like really just being who you are, not worrying about what other people are telling you to do.
Yeah.
That was the piece that faith played for me. I, for a long time, a couple of years ago, was really, really struggling with that, especially like my professional identity and kind of what I was doing there. And really like coming back to my faith and just really, there was a lot of prayer involved and a lot, just a lot of questioning and a lot of thought. And really like, I just kind of came to this point of like, just really like giving it up and saying like, what is this for me? And it didn't take long to start to trust like, oh, okay. It's just like you said, like once you give that up and you truly do like let go of the control that you're having while at the same time saying like, oh, I trust that God's path for me and stuff like that. Once you like truly believe that, then things change. And that's what happened for me. That's the role that it played for me, was when I finally was like, I don't know, like, let me listen. I did so much more listening. And that's when the signs started showing up. That's when kind of the doors started opening. And that's also when it felt like I was like starting to understand what, like what God's purpose for me was, and how that related professionally and, to those kind of like brass tacks of what are your services and, stuff like that. But I think I didn't understand the purpose piece as much. Like, what am I here for? What am I being called to do? How am I supposed to serve? And that got clear. And that was all faith and prayer. Cause I tried to force it for a really long time and none of it made sense. And like I said, when I like just said, okay, I'm out. Like, I trust you. Tell me where to go. Then it.
Yeah. And that is a real issue for people, finding and understanding their purpose. I mean, I think I have run into that challenge, that question from all walks of life, right? I mean, entrepreneurs, leaders, non-entrepreneurs. I mean, kids,
Yeah.
adults, like seniors, that have lived a full life. Some still say, I don't know and understand my purpose. So there is such power when you are able to get clarity around that. And I want to ask you, with your work, you demonstrate that fitness begins in the mindset. And the work that I do with entrepreneurs around coaching and, empowering them to think differently, it begins in the mindset. Why is the mindset the key foundation for moving ahead, whether it's in business, whether it's fitness? I mean, why does the mindset have such a value in that?
I think my belief of kind of how that all fits together is, again, like all these themes that we've been talking about for the last, half hour, is like, it really comes down to understanding who you are and what matters most to you. And like once you figure that out, like then everything else makes sense. I think the mindset piece, like it gets lost because people don't know themselves well enough, and we default into following. We default into, again, trying to just like look for magic pills and, people telling us what to do.
Yeah.
And kind of all of these like societal constructs of, fixed mindset and, we should all make more money and, like just all of these things. And I think those things kind of break down that foundation of like, okay, but where am I? Who am I? What do I believe in? And then what actions can I take that support that day to day?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where that all comes in.
Yeah.
And connects.
Yeah. Yeah. Just thinking about like shifts and thinking differently. I just saw in the news that Gold's Gyms, have all of their locations have shut down permanently in St. Louis. So, I know you don't have a, magic ball or anything, but what projections? I mean, can you make any predictions around, how you see the fitness industry changing, ahead or after COVID-19?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really, really interesting to see. And I'm involved with a couple of like industry associations and stuff. And it's been really kind of interesting to see even how that is shifting and how they're responding. Again, I've never had a brick and mortar or anything. I did work in one for a couple of years. So I have my finger a little bit more on the pulse of the online side of things. What I truly think is going to happen is like kind of similar to a lot of other like in-person service-based businesses, right? Like people are kind of forgetting about gyms and fitness facilities because of the hospitality industry, basically, like, which granted is like the biggest, like, biggest industry in our economy. I like fully, but I think my take is that gyms and fitness facilities kind of fall into that same category. They typically run on very slim margins. They're high overhead. It's really challenging, typically very, very competitive. I mean, you look at just your local community area and typically there are several, fitness facilities, gyms, studios, group fitness, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's highly competitive industry. I think that, much like restaurants or, whatever, I think we're going to see half of them go away. I don't think that a lot of in-person, are going to be able to survive. And then also fitness, for whatever reason right now, is not like included in some of the like small business stimulus stuff, as much as some of the hospitality businesses are. So that is another challenge, just straight up financially, if you're not getting that aid because you're not considered part of the category. That's pretty big. So I think fitness professionals often don't have a lot of longevity in even good times. It's real weird. Like people who decide to, go into fitness, become a personal trainer, whatever, typically their lifespan is like maybe 2 to 3 years. They don't tend to last very long in the industry. So I think that just could potentially be exacerbated to where people are like, well, this is great. If I have an opportunity to do it on the side, awesome. But I think I'm going to have to get a quote real job. So I think brick and mortar folks will really hurt. And I think also the other thing, I love talking about this stuff. Can you tell? Like,
Yeah.
I love fitness, but I really love business. So I do pay
Right.
attention to this. So this is a great question for me.
Listen, that's why it's Bizperation. We can bring both of those ideas
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. I think the other thing is though too, that will be interesting to see is that a lot of consumers are figuring out ways to engage in whatever fitness that they like online. Right. Like, so, you know, if they are saying, you know, oh, I do kind of maybe I want an online personal trainer. Maybe I want to sign up for that, you know, subscription program for, you know, TV workouts or whatever, or those types of things. I think also that could potentially be something that actually ramps up and takes off a little bit more, because a lot of people, you think about it, not everybody loves to go to the gym all that much. So if they now have more resources, to do it at home, but have good, strong, like guided, you know, expertise to take them through that, like, and also it's typically a lot more economical. I think it will be interesting to see if consumers are like, I'll just keep my subscription and do this at home for, you know, $30 a month rather than, you know, paying a trainer per session or, you know, having my gym membership and having to get up in the morning and go and blah, blah, blah. So I think that might be something that sticks around actually. It always just, it depends on the person, because like, I know I have a lot of clients who are like me. They love to go to the gym. They like to work out by themselves. They like to like go crush it and like do the thing. And that is typically my, you know, my type of training client, where they're just like, I just want you to give me a good, strong program to fit my goals, you know, kind of tell me what to do so I don't have to think about it, but I want to do it on my own. But then I have like a lot of other friends and acquaintances and stuff, and they're like, I love group fitness. The whole thing for me, I don't even care about the workout. I just want to like, I love that like
the motivation
in the room. And the motivation and, you know, that kind of thing. So those folks, they'll probably go back to their regular routine and stuff, you know, but I think other people who maybe didn't have a home or weren't sure with what they were doing and now they're sort of experimenting at home, they might just stay at home. So it'll be interesting to see.
So you know how coaches need coaches, trainers need trainers. So what are some of the resources that you use? Some of the trainers that you like, or resources that, you know, fitness resources that you like?
So, big +1 on that. I have had a trainer for the last like 6 years. And I, have kind of sort of alternated between a few. I had, for a long time, a coach who specialized, and I eventually got certified in this type of programming too, called like hybrid performance coaching, which essentially combines strength training and endurance training. This was when I was doing a lot of running, like road racing, and also wanting to lift in the gym. So I did that for a very long time. Great company called Complete Human Performance that I love, like I said, enough to like get certified in their type of coaching. So I worked with them for a really long time. Another coach that helped me, and he's really great. But you definitely gotta be into like muscles and bodybuilding and like that kind of stuff. I worked with him for a long time. Brian Cron is fantastic. I have always, like, ever since I got into fitness, utilized Girls Gone Strong as a resource. I would
like
consider myself. Yep. They're fantastic. They specialize all in strength for women, essentially strength and body image and coaching. They have coaching programs. They have professional certifications. They have tons of resources. And definitely, I always recommend that as a resource for women who consider themselves to be pre or postnatal. Any type of fitness and training and coaching that way, they're number one in the industry. Girls Gone Strong. So I use their workouts all the time too. I also have worked on their pre and postnatal coaching certification. They're fantastic. And then recently, I will say my first my running was probably my first love, but like spinning was like really my first like excitement, and like I'm obsessed with this.
You know what? I love watching spinning. I don't know if I could do it, but I would like it. It looks so exciting, and the people that are doing it, like they are so pumped, and you know, I'm like that looks. I love watching it.
It's so fun. So that was my first certification, and my first teaching that I did in fitness was spinning instructing. So, my husband, like last summer-ish, he, like very much, I always say, like, I allowed myself to be mad at him for 24 hours that he surprised me with a Peloton bike, because they're very
Oh,
expensive. It's an
yeah,
investment, but
yeah.
also, like I said, I'm obsessed with it and I love it. So, also I actually, like, as a fitness professional, like I really, really have a lot of respect, and I really enjoy Peloton, both as a professional, I obviously recommend it, and as a consumer, like as a participant, I love it. Like, I mean, I go down, mine is in the basement. So
Uh-huh.
I go down there, I take classes, I'm crying, I'm yelling, I'm clapping, I'm singing, like all of the things.
Yeah.
And also, like, they right now have, I think they're still doing 90 days free of their app. So you don't even have to have one of their pieces of equipment. You don't have to have a bike. You don't have to have a treadmill. And you can utilize all of their on-demand content through the
Oh,
app and test that out. And it's awesome. Like, they
okay.
have so much yoga and meditation and strength training and
Mm,
running, outdoor running, like just all kinds of stuff. So
yeah.
that's another really, really good resource that I like and I trust.
Okay.
They definitely don't mess around with any instructors who are not legit and
Hmm.
safe and, really doing the right thing. So,
Yeah.
um,
You've
it's,
kind
yeah.
of touched on this, but I wonder, if you're new to fitness training, like what are some
Mhm.
things that you should be thinking about, before you decide who to choose as a trainer?
Yeah, so that's definitely something that I'm very passionate about, as, again, someone who has been involved, and, like, I'm not, where I'm going with this is, fitness, unfortunately, is one of those industries that has no regulations. Like, so
Okay.
anybody can call themselves a trainer.
Yeah.
There is no licensure or anything like that. I'm actually on a volunteer committee for one of our certifying associations that is advocating, like, through Congress and like all of that kind of stuff, that we actually do have like a national, licensure situation. So it's something I'm definitely passionate about. Where I'm going with this is, do your research,
Hmm.
make sure that, I always recommend to people that you actually do work with a trainer for at least a few sessions, somebody who is qualified and credentialed by a nationally accredited certification body, has some experience, has experience with people like you. If you have certain types of injuries, if you have, maybe autoimmune disorders, even, like if you have Hashimoto's, you probably want to work with somebody who's familiar with how that affects exercise.
Okay.
Just as an example, older adults, there are trainers who specialize in working with older adults. Do you really want to work with like a super fit, like 25-year-old muscly dude? Might not be the best fit, because they might
Yeah.
not get your body. So, like, make sure the person is qualified, has a credential that you're looking for, maybe a specialty certification of some sort.
Mhm.
Like I said, again, maybe like a pre or postnatal training that would make you a little bit more comfortable than just like some, person off of Instagram or whatever. Like, basically
Right.
where I'm going with this is, like, just because a person has a fit body does not mean that they are good and qualified to do what you need out of a workout or an exercise program.
Mhm.
So make sure that you're checking people out. In a quote normal world,
Yeah.
how I typically do things, just as an example, is I don't take beginners online, because it can be, if someone has never lifted weights before, done strength training before,
Mhm.
it's very, very difficult to just give somebody a program and like tell them what to do, and even give them video demonstrations, right? Like, I want to be able to guide a person through what that form looks like, help them understand body awareness. So for instance, like if somebody wants to work with me and they, live in Montana, and they're like, well, you're so fun and you seem really cool, and I saw you, on blah, 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 like I want to work with
Mhm.
you, but I've
Mhm.
never worked out before. I want to start. And I'm like, okay, here's somebody I would recommend. Here's a resource where you could maybe find somebody to do 3 to 6 sessions with. And
Yeah.
then once you're comfortable, come back to me and we can work together.
Mhm.
right now. Obviously that's a little bit more difficult, but I think kind
Yeah.
of the idea still stands.
Yeah.
If you're a beginner here, make sure you find somebody who has some type of a strategy set up to where you can figure that out via Zoom or whatever. Maybe that just like takes a little bit more time.
Yeah.
Again, you have to invest in a couple single sessions, that kind of a thing. But if you have even spent any time, like I always tell people, even like if you played sports in high school or college and went in the weight room or whatever, like you have body awareness, like you know how to move your body. So you probably could just say, oh yeah, like that Peloton thing sounds cool. I'll sign up for that. And then
Yeah.
you just click on the beginner one, to start. Instead
Mm-hmm.
of going straight to the like advanced workout, just
Yeah.
start with the beginner one and ramp yourself back up. So
yeah. Well, and it's so important to do your research, as you said, because
yeah.
especially with women, we take the referrals of our friends, and
Yeah.
just because that trainer worked for you doesn't mean, or for their friend doesn't mean that
Yep.
they're going to be the right person for you. So, what are some of the, I guess, cons that can happen with you if you don't choose the right person? I know we have to understand this is really about our health.
Yeah.
This is about your life.
Yeah. So I would say two things. Number one being injury straight off the bat. Usually if somebody picks somebody that, like you said, either that was a great example. And a lot of times that happens like, oh my God, I've loved going to this class, or I love this person or whatever. Like you should totally do it. Not understanding their friend has a completely different situation, or again, maybe has, surgeries or injuries or whatever that they're working with. And like, it's just a total disaster and they end up getting injured.
Yeah.
Then that just kind of like, that sets you back again to like, okay, now I have to totally rethink this.
Yeah.
I've even had clients who like, they have that happen, then they have to go to physical therapy, and then they finally can start over at the basics. And then that's when they do their research and, make it with a meet or whatever else.
Too late.
So definitely like injury is a big one that can happen, but and again, this is kind of the other side of things that I am very familiar with is really the mindset and the body image side of things.
Yeah.
Many times, and this also can be from a referral of, say, like a fit friend or that kind of a thing. There's that aspirational quality of, I want to look like that person. But you go down that road and find that a lot of times it's really, really damaging stuff that gets them there. And folks end up with a lot of body image issues, challenges exacerbated on maybe how they were already feeling, even to the level of like body dysmorphia, and just really, really challenging stuff that is more like mentally and emotionally taxing. And then it's really it's tough to walk your way out of that. Right. Just again, kind of trying to put Band-Aids on things. So that's definitely a danger of a lot of online fitness programs and, stuff like that. When it's all focused on the bikini body, that's tough. So, and again, that's like a big reason why I do what I do the way that I do it, because, it's really, it's something that affects so many women. And again, so many parts of our lives. And like, it's really serious. It's not something to just be like, well, it's fine. Like, I just won't ever wear a bikini again. And I'm like, okay, let's roll that back, dial that back for a second. And
I had a Nicholas Powell on, and he's a sports psychologist, and he just talked about, when the athletes come to him and say, these are the goals that I have, he's like, okay, that's great, but why? So you kind of start back, and it sounds like, what you're saying with your clients, you want to get to that why. Why are these your fitness goals? Because it all starts in the mindset. It really does.
Yep. And that's what that nailed it. Absolutely. That's what I do with every single client when they're like, well, I mean, I want to like tone up. I go directly down that road with them. And I'm like, okay, tell me why. And, usually it's like, well, because I just want to feel better. And I'm like, okay, why? What does that look like? And then they have to like think about it and answer. And then I'm like, okay, why does that look like? I call it the 5-year-old game, because how like 5-year-olds are like, why? And you're like, get to this point where you're like, I don't know.
I'm telling you. And isn't it interesting? These are adults that have lived the experience, and they still don't know why.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
and I don't think it's because they don't have the information. It's because they haven't been asked that. They hadn't had
Yeah.
to think about it, you know?
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, you're not accustomed to thinking that way.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I definitely push people into thinking that way. And it, again, like with it, all of my clients over the years, this is like hundreds of clients at this point. Like it is life-changing. It's, you know, to start to understand that and to be able to answer your own whys, and then to be like, oh my gosh, like I don't need to be doing this. If I'm saying that being able to play with my kids matters the most to me, why am I worried about working out for 2 hours a day?
Yeah.
Whoa. And they like make that connection.
Mhm.
And then that's when they can really truly, first of all, find, you know, those shifts in loving and accepting themselves as they are. And then also kind of retooling what, you know, their fitness and exercise plan looks like in a way that actually feels good in their own body. So
And I think that's the mark of a great coach, that you are, you know, causing them to reflect and arrive at their own answers and their own solutions, you know, because for some reason you hear it a lot different. You hear it differently when it comes from you, you know, it sticks with you.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, you know, the coaching and, you know, the fitness piece is the focus, like that's, you know, that's the flagship, right?
Yeah.
But you've been able to create some other opportunities that to help build that brand around. I know you've done some podcasting. So I want to talk about, like, what are some other ways that you can use to build your fitness brand that may not just be offering fitness services, direct fitness services? Because, you know, the more ways that we and opportunities that we can create to, you know, get our customers to connect with us, the better, especially during this time.
Yeah. You know, well, to talk about the podcast thing, interestingly, so my good friend and I, who she started out as a client, by the way, like a million years ago, and we built a friendship and a relationship over the years. But like we kept having just all of these like life conversations, you know, and we're like, you know what, we talk about this all the time. Like I feel like a lot of other women would be into this too. So that's kind of how that got started. And we really had like no plan, no motivation, no strategy around that. It wasn't necessarily to build either of our businesses or anything like that. But interestingly, just having that out there, I think introduced some of her audience to me and who I was, and then same kind of on the other side of things. So, you know, it's just kind of like a resource.
Yeah.
I just, you know, for me, so much of what has been opportunity for me has like truly just been like building relationships and having conversations with people. You know, some people will call that networking. I don't, like, cause I don't think of any of that as transactional, but the opportunities and the doors that have opened for me have literally all been about basically like having this conversation, like me just like talking about things, you know, whether that's business or fitness or, you know, what I'm passionate about or, you know, whatever. And all of a sudden, you know, it's like you said, it's then giving talks or doing workshops or, you know, going on other podcasts. I've been a guest on a lot of podcasts. I am, often like a expert, like resource in, you know, articles with, I have connections with several different journalists who write for, you know, national publications and stuff like that. So, all of that is really truly built on talking to people.
So true. And, you know, really that's the best form of advertisement, right? Word of mouth, you know, because it sounds simple with all of the, you know, strategic ways that we have to build our business, but we are building human to human, right? So our customers are human beings, and, you know, they really buy because of you, because of that personal connection that they've made to you or your brand, you know?
Yep. And I will say, like, what I have done and what I have learned over the years, and again, like this goes to like, I have gone to lots of, you know, conferences and done programs and hired coaches and like all of the things and, you know, read books and the whatevers. But I think as it relates to business and growth as well, like there are still a lot of people who don't believe like you don't have to follow any formulas. You don't have to use a system. And in fact, that might actually be to your detriment, because then all of a sudden you just look like everybody else who's using that system.
Right.
And so I have never really bought into that. I kind of take parts and pieces of like, oh, I think that sounds like it would fit with what I do.
Yes.
And I would say overall, definitely the word of mouth has been my number one. And then number two for me has been my email list. And that's really, really big for me. That is something that I have done religiously for 7 years, is sent out at least one email a week to my list. And that is, if we want to talk business strategy, that's like a number one for where clients come from. My work is often very intangible, and that's always a tough sell, right? Coaching is always a tough sell, especially something that like, I'm not like the conventional way of doing that. So it just takes a little bit longer for people to get to know me, and doing that through email, you know, telling stories about myself, sharing client stories, all of that stuff has really built longer term relationships. And that has been, you know, some of the best conversion that I could have ever had, versus, you know, checking all these boxes of what you're supposed to be doing on, you know, social media or paid advertising or, you know, any of that stuff. I don't do any of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you, Kourtney. That's been our experience. It has been really just the relationships that we've been able to develop through networking. You know, what is it? The 6 degrees of separation.
Yeah.
Once you make your way through those 6 degrees, I mean, you gain new clients, new contracts, new opportunities, you know, to serve people. So that's the nugget. That's the real nugget right there.
I think so too.
And it's being able to identify that for yourself. I mean, that's what really this Bizperation platform is all about, challenging people to think differently and think for themselves. And I want to hear stories from entrepreneurs and leaders and individuals that are living that out. They're not doing business the traditional way, and they are able to inspire others along their journey because they're doing it their way. So, you know, I congratulate you on that. And
thank you.
That's why it was destined. It was meant for us to meet, you know.
And,
I mean, I love that we've been able to stay connected, you know, over the years. And when we come together, usually, and I don't know if this is because we're on the podcast or what, but usually there are some tears involved, you know, in our conversation. We're trying to keep it together for the people. So
right.
But, you know, usually there are some tears involved because our work is emotional and we really are passionate about it, you know, and that piece too about just letting God lead us and being committed to our faith. I think a lot of it is just gratitude, you know, that God has kept us, that, you know, we are able to find authentic women and friendships and relationships that really do want to support each other, you know, because there are so many women, especially, that have a challenge in finding real tribes and real connections and real friendships. You know, it's a challenge for especially women that are in business.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I have I can relate. I have experienced that, and it is definitely very it's just so refreshing. And like you said, I have just so much gratitude for having found, you know, kind of a core of those women in our community. So yeah.
All right. So this is the fun part of the conversation. This is what I like to call my top 5, my Bizperation top 5. And, you know, when we do it on the podcast, it's a little different than our YouTube channel when we're giving business strategy. This time, we're going to learn the top 5 things about you that we would have never known. So I'm going to ask you questions and you're going to tell me, top of the brain, what comes out, right? So don't think too long. Don't think too hard of it. Just give us your truth. All right, here's the first one. What accomplishment are you the most proud of?
My goodness. I don't know. I don't know.
It's not Shape Magazine 2014. No, I'm joking. That was a pretty hot picture too, Kourtney, I must say.
Oh, it was one of the first professional pictures I ever got taken. You know what? I still might throw my first marathon in there. Marathons are hard. And it's a process that I still think about. So like, I'm pretty proud of that.
That's awesome. That takes a lot of determination and training for that, discipline mainly for
So
that.
much. Yeah.
What makes you cry?
Well, outside of Shriners Hospital for Children's commercials, those make me cry all the time, every day. Okay. I feel like these days I cry more from like joyful things, like people showing up for each other type of things, and not even necessarily having anything to do with me. Like I was just I don't know, watching some video or something on Instagram this morning about, what was it? Oh, I know exactly what it was. There was a picture of two nurses. It was a husband and a wife, and they were in a hospital, and they had all their gear on and their masks and their whatever, and they were holding each other, and their masks were just together, and all you could see was how deeply they were looking into each other's eyes, just like, I love you, and like, we're all here. And I was like, so things like that.
Yeah. I mean, you can, if you put yourself in, just to be in their shoes right now, the health workers that are on the front line that are literally putting their lives at stake for us every day. I mean, and have families of their own. Look, I'm about to cry talking about it now.
I know. Yeah.
It doesn't take much for me either, Kourtney. It's like, gosh, I just don't have the words to thank them, for the daily sacrifices that they're making, and to be able to endure the grief of seeing, just so much sadness and so much death, and just, man, I mean, just hats off to them for just being able to continue to serve in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. All right. Where is the furthest place that you've traveled?
Peru. We went to Machu Picchu and Cusco a few years ago. It's been about 3 years ago now.
Okay. I like to talk to you about your travels. I was going to ask you, like, what was the most remote place? I think you've talked to me about mountain hikes and places and things like that. Yep. So you really have some interesting travel experiences.
Yeah, we like the whole adventure travel thing. So
yeah. What is the last book that you read?
The last book that I just finished up last night, actually, I'm like one of those people who stays up way too late reading books. And I pretty much only read like fiction books that I love. So I read the second book in a series, and it's called Undercover Bromance. So the first one is called The Bromance Book Club, and that's what the series is. And it's like basically about it's like all these like kind of like macho dudes who like actually under the surface are all like softy feminists, and they start like this book club where they read romance novels so that they can like become better husbands and better lovers and like better like all of this stuff. So anyway, I finished up the second one in that series, and it was very, very cute.
Okay. All right. Dinner with anyone alive or dead, who would it be?
I think that for me would, number one be Dolly Parton, but my number two is a close second, and that would be Anthony Bourdain.
I just watched a documentary on Dolly Parton. I'm telling you, that woman is like girl power before we even made that a thing, right?
Yeah, she is.
Oh my God. Like she had such wise business decisions. She was so focused. I mean, talk about brand, like talk about reputation, like talk about being in the driver's seat.
Always.
I mean, it has not been a new thing for her. I mean, she has so many, so much business that we don't even know about that she owns. You know what I mean? Brilliant woman. You want to study someone in business? If you're entrepreneurs or leaders out there listening to this, study Dolly Parton.
Yeah, do not sleep on Dolly, because she's more
than a singer.
Oh my God. That is like the least of, like, singing and acting is the least of what Dolly has contributed to the world. Like, I mean, her career has spanned 60 years. Like, I mean, seriously. I actually I love Dolly so much. Number one, like if you go to my website and you look at about Kourtney, the whole thing is about Dolly Parton. But second of all, like my signature talk literally is about like lessons learned from Dolly Parton and how to like apply this to your life and based on who she is, how she has showed up about what matters to her. And like you said, like how that manifests in the life that she's built for herself, business and otherwise. She's just an incredible human being and a huge inspiration. And I am very much a like, what would Dolly do type of gal.
What would Dolly do? And I think the thing that I most admire about her is that, she stayed true to herself. She, she hasn't compromised or changed.
Never.
And any of the decisions that she's made, the beauty decisions, it's been because she wanted to and she owned it, right?
Yep. Always.
Still looks good.
Yeah, I know.
All right, Kourtney, last question. Reputation is what people say about you when you are not in the room. Oh. So what do you want people to remember after listening to this interview today?
Oh, goodness. I don't know. I hope that people will feel that I mean what I say, like that, and kind of get what we have, again, I feel like touched on this entire time, that like, it's really about what matters most to you. And like, that is a number one thing. And I want everybody to like understand that for themselves. It's been a process for me. And I hope that that's kind of what they'll remember from this.
So how can they stay connected to you? How can we follow you?
I am frequently on Instagram and Facebook. Kourtney Thomas Coach is where you can find me there, either of those. And it's Kourtney with a K. I used to hate that. I still actually don't love it, but now it's way easier because Kourtney Kardashian exists. So I can just say Kourtney like Kourtney Kardashian.
Yeah.
And then my website really is, I frequent that. Again, I'm adding blog posts every week, all that kind of stuff. I don't have an assistant. I return all my emails and contacts myself. So CourtneyThomas.com. I keep it easy. CourtneyThomas.com. That's a good way to get to me too.
Okay. And before we end again, I want to congratulate you on your St. Louis Magazine nomination.
Oh, thank you. I'm crossing my fingers. It would be fun to win.
But we want to help you win. So how can our listeners vote for you? What can they do?
Well, today and tomorrow is the last day to vote, but you can vote once a day, and just throw a few more votes my way, and we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, congratulations again on everything. Thanks for taking the time. I'm glad that I made it to your calendar this week.
Yes, absolutely.
A much needed catch up. And so, blessings to you on just everything that's coming your way. And I just know that, your Fitness Unraveled group is going to get so much from, having these next 3 months with you. So
I'm excited.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk again soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
The Bizperation Personal Think Tank Journal is now available. Did you know that your creativity is a valuable asset based on this? How you think determines how you thrive. The Bizperation Journal exercises the key thinking skills that make goal-getters successful. Get your copy today from Amazon or receive an autographed copy from the Bizperation.com website. We know that there are lots of podcasts that you could have chosen to listen to, so thanks for choosing ours. Go ahead and subscribe now so that you don't miss any episodes.